Frank, good to see you. Want to talk a lot about Summit, but first time really talking to you, a major CEO in tech, since the Supreme Court struck down Roe last week. So, in your book, which you talked about earlier this year, you talk about aligning people and culture. You talk about building culture. What does that mean for leadership at this kind of a time of upheaval right now?
Well, we may have a little bit of a different view. I mean, culture is not sort of a universal good, like there's only one good way, to do it. I mean, culture needs to support and enable and align with the mission of the company. And, if you work in a government institution or a nonprofit, or you work in a large, slow growth company versus, a high growth tech Silicon Valley, I mean, the culture is going to be very different because the culture needs to help the company in achieving its mission. I will tell you that in companies like ours, you have super high growth, it's high pressure, it's very competitive. So, the cultural values, the dynamic, will be different than other companies, but it suits what we needed to do, for us. And of course, our people need to feel good about that. And, we take great pains during interview processes to make sure that people understand, what culture they're getting into and that they can reconcile themselves fully with that. Actually, we want them to thrive with it because it's not for everybody. And we understand that as well. So we don't want to make mistakes either on their part or our own.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means in the context of what I was asking, but it sounds like you're focused on aligning with the mission and not what's happening in broader politics. That's
correct. I mean, the broader politics, it is what it is. We try not to weigh in on that because it's a sort of a no-win conversation. There will always be people that will be unhappy with that situation. And, we're in the business of running Snowflake, so we're doing that to the best of our abilities. No matter what's going on in the world, there's always something.
All right. Now let's talk about Summit. You talked about moving into a more application development space with Data Cloud. You announced specifically a native applications framework. How does this really affect your addressable market going forward, especially because, there's this report about CIOs, and you've got a lot of loyalty and intent to spend with forward-thinking CIOs out there?
Yeah, this is a huge conference for us. I mean, we had 10,000 people in attendance, never mind, pandemic, et cetera. And then the international was not really well represented because they're not traveling yet. But we were making announcements and showing things that have literally been years and years, in the making. So it was very significant. Now, just for this audience, I mean, we're really signaling an evolution, if you will, from doing strict, what we call workload modernization, basically taking stuff from, on-premise data centers, to the cloud, and for people to enable, all those benefits that you get from that. Not that we're going to stop doing that. That's certainly, part of our bread and butter, but it's evolving. And what it's evolving to is an industry focus on very specific industry, challenges, things that are very, what we call mission aligned. In other words, things that are important for those industries and those institutions. Healthcare, it's huge, for example, because they're aiming for predictive insights. In other words, they don't want to necessarily treat people for symptoms. They want to be able to predict, when people are going to get ill, with what disease, at what time, with what reliability. And then not just become predictive, but also become prescriptive, meaning what are we going to do about it, and what is the reliability of the therapies and protocols that are being advised. So that has the opportunity to completely change not just the economics of the industry, but also quality of life, longevity of life. So that's what we mean. Data is becoming so incredibly critical to the mission of institutions out there.